Hey, today we're going to be using Ariados in the Love Cup. It's one of the strongest Pokemon in this meta, and in order to make it work, we need to build a strong team around it. Now, Ariados is going to be very weak to Pokemon like Charizard and Magcargo, which are very common in the meta. So a natural pairing here would be Alomomola, a water-type Pokemon with Waterfall, Psychic, and Hydro Pump. It can cover Ariados' weaknesses, and what's also great is Ariados also covers Alomomola's weaknesses, such as Scrafty, Electrode, and Medicham. Now, in order to meld this team together, we need to have a strong safe swap that can be very good in this meta at applying pressure to shields to give yourself an advantage. And we're going to naturally be pairing it with Electrode, one of my favorite safe swaps in the Love Cup meta. And this team might actually look familiar. It was my favorite team and probably arguably the best team that I ran in the Love Cup last year. So we're going to bring it again to the Love Cup now, and let's see how we do. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Ariados on the lead versus Charizard. So a very tough matchup, but we do have two good answers in the back, so we're going to go ahead and safe swap into Electrode and get ahead on energy. Now, we do see a Lickitung come into this matchup, so what we need to do is, because we are running Hyper Beam, we're going to go ahead and build up to that energy, which is going to be 5-volt switch. Fast moves, and then we're going to go ahead and throw the discharge. We actually go for 6-volt switches right there. But we're going to go ahead and throw this discharge. If it lands, so be it. We get some extra chip damage, but they actually decided to shield, which is going to give us an opening now to go for Hyper Beam. So we're going to go ahead and no-shield this as we're in the one-shield situation right now. And this Lickitung is relatively within range of getting one-shot by a Hyper Beam, which means we get 2 shields if they decide to stop it, and they didn't. Boom! Nearly one-shots right there. So Electrode just successfully flipped the mid game for us while maintaining even shield. So now we get Ariados against Scrafty and Alomomola against Charizard. A perfect alignment for us. They do swap into Charizard, so we're going to go ahead and bring in the Alomomola, and this is going to be a good game, very well played. There's no reason to shield right here, as we are very, very tanky. As you can see, the Blast Burn doesn't do too much damage, and we can just fully farm down with Waterfall and have a charge move ready to go on the backside. Even if this KOs us, we can come in with Ariados and fast move down, but it won't. So we're going to go ahead and look to throw the Psychic now against the Scrafty, and then come in as quickly as possible with our Ariados in order to take it out. So they do counter us down. We're going to come in, we're going to go for Lunge right away. This applies an attack debuff to Scrafty while still doing neutral damage, so we will be forcing their final shield, and now all of their moves are going to be doing less damage to us, which is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and no shield, and it was actually a foul play. The reason why I no-shielded right there, I was concerned more about them going for a power-up punch and then another foul play after, so I decided to let it go. We're going to win this game anyways. Lunge just does so much damage. We're going to go ahead and now shield this next charge move and fast move down. So this is looking to be a good game, very well played. That was all about the Electrode safe swap, which is why it's one of my favorite in the meta. Alright, good game. We got Ariados now versus Medicham. So somewhat of a positive lead. It all depends on if the Psychic lands. If it does land, it's over for us. But I'm going to go ahead and go for Lunge. Now, looking at this matchup, if we know we're going to stay in and we know we're going to shield, Lunge doesn't really do a lot for us since we're already resisting the fast moves of counter. So it might be a little better here. I want to face off against more Medichams to kind of go back and forth here, but we're going to go ahead and go for Cross Poisons now to see what kind of damage this does against the Medicham here. And we do force a shield, which is great. So now I'm going to go ahead and go for another Lunge because I think this might just be enough damage to KO, but no, barely not enough right there. So they will be able to get to another charge move. So we're going to go ahead and shield. And it was the Psychic. So we did stop that damage, and now we can farm down. Let's see what they have in the back. It is going to be Charizard, so we're going to go ahead and throw the Cross Poison. And this is what's so good about Ariados, is the Cross Poison does a lot to Charizard. That is a lot of damage for a very little amount of energy, and our Electrode now is doing a lot of fast move damage here. Now, Blast Burn is going to be coming through, but Electrode can hang on, as we can fast move down the Charizard because we resist the wing attacks, and we're just going to go straight for Hyper Beam. That was a blind throw. right? I didn't want to get hit with the fast move, so I just blind through a Hyper Beam, but it didn't matter. They shielded anyways. So now we have their own Alomomola, and we're going to go ahead and bring in Ariados here and go for lunges. Again, because they only have one Pokemon remaining, they cannot swap out and clear the debuff that we're going to be applying to them. Plus, we still do a lot of neutral damage, so we're going to try to get to one more, and then we're going to look to bring in our own Alomomola, and that is going to seal the fate. That is going to be a good game, very well played, because there's not a lot they can do, as their attack drop is so devastating to them right now that a Psychic is not going to do any damage, even though it is neutral. As you can see, yeah, this is going to be a good game, very well played. So that definitely worked out for us, maintaining the lead, even though we had to give up 2 shields, but we were able to get it on the back end with the Electrode full farm down on the Charizard and applying the Hyper Beam to whatever came in right there. And that, yep, that's going to be a good battle. All right. Moving into the next one, we have Ariados on the lead versus Lurantis. Okay, so very, 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 very positive lead for us. We will see them swap out into Shadow Slowbro, and I decided to stay in and go for Lunge right here. Just because I wanted to get a shield. I want to come in with my own Electrode now and look to go for a Discharge here to force a second shield from them. This puts them in a very tough situation where they have to shield twice or they just lose the Slowbro, which is fine. Ariados doesn't need too much health in order to put a lot of pressure against the Lurantis, because we're going to be resisting both the Leaf Blade and Superpower, and thankfully the Electrode can hang on here, so we're going to go ahead and go for Discharge. Now, this is going to be resisted, but any extra damage is going to be welcome because Lurantis is pretty glassy, so they're going to go ahead and farm us down. We're going to wait for the switch clock and then come in with Ariados right here and see what they decide to do. So they're going to go ahead and swap out, and they do have a Milotic in the back. So similar situation where we saw the Alomomola in the final match of last game, where we're going to apply the Lunge, and now we're going to come in with our own Alomomola right here and look to farm down. Now, we got to be very careful because Milotic does have access to Hyper Beam, which thankfully they do decide to go for, but thankfully because of the debuff and our bulk, they won't be able to take us out. So now we're going to go ahead and look to go for a Psychic here. If this gets the final shield from them, we might just be able to farm down with Waterfall, which we do get the final shield. So we're going to go ahead and look to farm down, and we get it in time. So this is looking to be a good game as we can go for the Psychic here. Our switch clock is coming back up as well, which means the Ariados should, oh no, we don't get it just in time. We're actually going to be able to Waterfall down, but yeah, switch clock was back up right there. And again, we still had 2 shields, so we could have gotten to a cross poison right there. So good game. All right, we got Ariados on the lead versus Shadow Scizor. I'm like, whoa, this thing is spicy. All right, we're going to come in with Electrode right here, and we do draw out a Slowbro. Now, it's very important to notice this is a Slowbro with Confusion instead of Poison Jab. So we can't bring back in the Ariados against it. So we're going to have to go for Discharges right now, just trying to do as much damage as possible. I do decide to give up a shield here as to make it even and to see if I can get to one more Discharge. And I actually don't think I'm going to be able to get to a third here in time. I was hoping I might just be able to, but looking at the health remaining, we do get 2 shields. Nope, we don't survive right there. Unfortunate. Now, again, noticing the fast move, we cannot come in with Ariados. We're going to get chunked. So we got to come in with Alomomola right here and soak all of this energy. The Shadow Scizor is pretty deadly, and it's going to be resisting the charge moves from Ariados, but it's also very glassy, which means if we have a good amount of energy, we might just be able to take it down. So let's see what decides to come in. It's going to be Medicham, so we're going to go ahead and go for the Psychic, and then we're going to be swapping out into our Ariados to get ahead on energy. If they decide to stay in with Medicham, we can safely overload on energy and wait for them to swap out, and we can also shield the Psychic that's going to be coming in, because now we should be able to take out Medicham if they decide to stay in before they get to another Psychic, but instead they decide to swap out into Scizor. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Lunge right here. Even though this is resisted, that is still a lot of damage, and the attack debuff is huge for us because now we should be able to survive a charge move here from the Shadow Scizor as we do get 2 lunges off. So now it's just a matter of how much damage is this going to do to me. They go for the Iron Head, which was neutral and not enough to take us out, but we can farm down, and we have a Lunge ready to go for the Medicham. And remember, It is also pretty low on energy because it just bailed out after the Psychic. So we're going to swap into our Alomomola and fast move down with Waterfall. So that is going to be a good game. Very well played. I'd be curious to see if 2 Night Slashes was a better play there from Scizor, but ultimately we won't know. All right, we got Ariados mirror match. Okay, so my goal right here is to win the CMP tie if I can, and they actually went for the extra fast move instead. This is very good because these charge moves are resisted. I'm going to be doing so much more damage to them. They actually decide to swap out into Electrode, which is already 2 out of 3 of our own team. So my thought is it might be a similar team. It might be Alomomola in the back. This is a pretty strong lineup, so we'll have to see if it's going to be that, but I have to give up a shield now, because what I want to do is try to come in here with our own Electrode at some point, maybe to try to catch the charge move if I can, if it's going to be a discharge, but I also want to get a shield from them. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the cross poison here. We get a shield there, which is perfect. This allows me to come in with my own Electrode now, and I'm going to have to shield. This could be Hyper Beam. This was 5. And it was a Hyper Beam. So that's a good call by my opponent trying to go for the boom, but it opens up the door for me to farm down. And now I have 2 discharges ready to go, and oh man, I'm so annoyed. I over-tapped, right? I tapped above the charge move, which is annoying because the lunge now is going to land, but I have 2 discharges ready to go. This is going to apply a lot of pressure, and if there is an Alomomola in the back, we are looking very good because our own Ariados will be able to debuff it, right? So they're going to go ahead and shield. I might just be able to get to another discharge in time, otherwise they have to throw, which is fine. And now this is going to be a tough situation right here because Cross Poison is going to take us out. I think it might be a bit better to come in with Alomomola and actually fast move down, because if they do apply the debuff, but instead they decide to swap, and it was actually an exact mirror team, which is really cool to see. So I would say the key from this is if you can win that CMP tie at the beginning with lunge, it's going to set the pace for the rest of this game. But ultimately now, I'm waiting for them to throw the Psychic because I don't want to come in with Ariados and not be able to get to a charge move in time. And remember, lunge doesn't do a lot of damage. We saw it at the very beginning. It maybe does like 20%, if that. So I'm going to be able to survive a charge move from their Ariados whenever it comes back in. So I might as well just try to get this Alomomola as low as possible. So they're going to be able to land the Psychic right here, and I'm going to swap out right away because they won't be able to get to another one in time, and I should be able to get ahead on energy. And in comes the Ariados going for the charge move, and again, we should be able to survive this, which we do. It's just going to be a cross poison, so we survive. We get to our own cross poison in time, and then the Alomomola in the back is very, very low, where a couple fast moves here should be able to take it out, and that is going to be a good battle, very well played. All right, moving to the next one, we got Ariados on the lead versus Slowbro. Okay, so this is kind of a tough one because Slowbro kind of core breaks Ariados and Alomomola. Now, granted, it doesn't core break it when Ariados has energy, right? Because it is part psychic typing. It's going to take a ton of damage from lunge, so we want to come back in with that. Now, we let the foul play go through, and I'm going straight for the Hyper Beam right here. There's no messing around today with Electrode, and we landed, boom, nearly one-shots, and simultaneous KO. Gosh darn it. All right, now we're staring at the top right to see if they come in early, but we're going to come in with Ariados, and it was actually the Slowbro now in the back. So like I said, the lunge is going to be doing super effective damage, and also it's going to be lowering the attack, which means Confusion is going to start doing less and less damage, and we're going to be getting shields from them. So we got to kind of stay in. I don't know what the final Pokemon is going to be, but honestly, it could be a lot of different things. So I'm going to try to go for another lunge right here. And then we got to swap out. I can't stay in too long because I'm going to get farmed down before oh, and we land it! Beautiful! Okay, you guys saw how much damage that did? It's actually, it's a Medicham in the back. This is such a tough Pokemon to face off as the final one, because this could be a power-up punch. If it's a Psychic, it doesn't KO us, we survive, but it was a Psychic, which is still a ton of damage. Now, if we no-shielded the power-up punch, that would have been the win condition for us. So, unfortunately, they should be able to take this one right here. It's just counter is doing so much damage. They can easily go for a power-up punch right now, which I might just have to let go through. let through, basically, yeah. And then we're going to be coming in with Ariados and try our best to load up on energy. But the switch clock is coming back up now, which now seals the fate, because they're going to swap out into Slowbro, and I will not have enough energy to take it out, and one confusion will take us. So that is going to be a good battle, very well played. All right, we got Ariados on the lead versus Lickitung. Okay. So, Lickitung leads, we don't really need to swap out right away. What we want to look to do is go for a lunge to apply that debuff so Body Slam doesn't do as much damage to us. And then we want to start looking to go for cross poisons right here if we can, because it also, just like Night Slash, has a chance to proc our own attack, boosting us, which can be kind of insane when Ariados does get the boost. And, well, we get the boost right there. Now, they do swap out into Charizard, so I swap out right away. There's no reason to stay in with Ariados, even though we have the boost, right? Clearing that is perfectly fine when you can hard counter. And I decided to shield. I was like, you know what? I want health on the back end of this with Alomomola so that I can apply pressure to Lickitung, and it also forces Lickitung to throw a Power Whip against us. It won't be able to throw a Body Slam. We also have a charge move ready to go. Now, unfortunately, I shielded the Dragon Claw. I mean, granted, both was going to happen, but now, look, the Lickitung has to throw a Power Whip in order to take us out, which means it's going to be out of energy, which now, boom, gives us an opening for Electrode to come in and load up. So I think that's what we're going to look to do right here. We're going to come in with Electrode. They swap out into Medicham. So now Medicham is going to be forced to throw a Psychic against us. But actually they go for a Power-Up Punch, which is okay. It allows us to save our shield. And now I'm going to be able to put a lot of pressure with Discharge right here. There's no reason to go for Hyper Beam. This is their final Pokemon with health, right? So they're going to shield anything. So what we need to do is go for double Discharge. They did double Power-Up Punch right there, which means they're pretty much out of energy. They're very low. And we should be able to get a shield right here, which we do in the second one. Now, we may not get a shield on the second one, but at least Ariados can come in. We did get a second shield. Okay, so this is perfect now. If they didn't, then it would have been lower health and we could just go straight for cross poisons. But now I'm forced to shield because it could be the Psychic, but it was another Power-Up Punch. I'm like, oh my goodness. So now I'm going to go ahead and go for double cross poison here. This is going to do enough neutral damage to take out the Medicham, and I have 2 ready to go. So we can just go for the back-to-back. And that is going to be a good game, very well played, because we should be able to outpace the Lickitung to the next charge move, because remember, it was forced to throw a Power Whip against our Alomomola. So Ariados right here is going to take that sweep very nicely, and that is going to be a good battle, very well played. All right. Moving into the next one, we have Ariados on the lead versus Ariados again. Okay, so we're racing to the charge move here, trying to see if we can get to that lunge in time. And we do win the CMP tie, so this is very good. We are now going to be setting the pace on this lead. So let's see how they decide to react. Okay, it must have been a CMP tie, so they're going to go ahead and go for their charge move, which is fine. And let's see what they decide to do now. If they're going to swap out or stay in, they decide to swap out into Scrafty. So we're going to go ahead and stay in here and look to go for lunges against the Scrafty because it's going to do neutral damage. And like I said before, apply that attack debuff, which is very necessary. Now, when it comes to the third Pokemon, it's gotta be something to counter Charizard, right? Think about it. Ariados lead and a Scrafty. So I'm like, okay, it's gotta be something like maybe a Alomomola, maybe Macargo, something like that. So staying in with Ariados right here makes quite a bit of sense in order to win this matchup. So I'm gonna go ahead and shield this next foul play because I wanna make sure, even though I'm down 2 to 0 shields right here, alignment I think is going to be key if it's something like a Macargo or an Alomomola in the back for our Electrode or our own Alomomola. Now, sure enough, it was a Macargo in the back. That makes a lot of sense. So the team read was very solid right there, seeing Ariados on lead, Scrafty that came in. They have to have an answer for Charizard, otherwise Charizard just sweeps their whole team, which they're going to lose more games that way. So it makes sense to have a Macargo right there. So we came in with the Electrode to bait them to stay in, which they do. And now we can come in with a Alomomola. But we got to wait for our switch clock at the top to go down. And then we're going to come in with Alomomola, and they swap out now back into Ariados. But thankfully, we are so tanky right here, and Ariados is somewhat low, that we are going to be able to basically farm down. And we're going to be able to apply pressure here with Psychic as well. They only have 1 shield remaining. So this is going to force that final shield. And we can also, now our switch clock is back up, we can swap out, which we're going to do. We're going to swap out and go for the lunge right away, saving the health there on Alomomola and clearing that lunge attack debuff, which is now going to allow us to farm down with Waterfall against the Magcargo. So that's looking to be a good game, very well played. Magcargo's going to come in and tap us down with the Rock Throw, and then Alomomola now hopefully can win the race, which we're looking to do right there, and that is going to be a good battle, very well played. So the team read, I think, was ultimately the key right there to that final battle. And this team I used last year, and I used again this year, and it is still very, very strong. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.